they are built is, as I said, that careers are built over time.
But you go deep, you go wide, and you come across as a well rounded professional.
You want to be a T-shaped professional, and how that T is that the horizontal line is your breadth of skill, and then the vertical line is your depth of experience.
But just keep at it. And there's nothing that you need to do besides being yourself to set a good impression. What are those 3 skills that you would want to see in a young graduate to excel in his career?
A lot of students work on their IQ, they work on their technical skills that, we need to know PowerPoint, we need to know Excel, we need to do what we call transferable skills.
But if we were to sort of, guide you towards how you should address your problems and how you should address the challenges and opportunities that AI brings, as well as any other technology that you encounter in your career.
And I think at Unilever, we call it shape your own adventure. Chances are that you will be working with a group of people or through a group of people. And I think, that comfort is very important. So these will be the, curiosity, data and analytics, and people skills.
Let me introduce this very distinguished panel. 3 young achievers. Sitting on my right is Myra Qureshi. And Myra is a distinguished entrepreneur and visionary leader with expertise in business strategy and management consulting. As the CEO of Conatural Beauty Private Limited, she has built a brand dedicated to providing natural, safe and effective beauty solutions while championing women empowerment and sustainability. With over 9 years of leadership, Myra has earned a reputation for delivering high quality, ethical products and creating opportunities for women. Welcome, Myra.
Thank you so much.
Where sitting on her right is your another senior from IBA, who happened to be my student long time back, actually. Madiha, it's so good to see you, mashallah, and so good to see when your actually students do really well in their career. Madiha is a seasoned marketeer and a sales professional with over 14 years of experience in the consumer good industry. She currently serves as marketing director for food in Pakistan and general manager for foods in Bangladesh at Unilever. Madiha has held key roles in customer marketing, business strategy and brand management, leading successful initiatives for iconic brands like Surf Excel and Lux. Her expertise spanned digital transformation, innovation, team leadership, driving growth and excellence across diverse markets. Madiha, welcome. See, you are popular, people know you. Yeah, you have a fan base out there. All right. And then I think it's impossible if you have a little bit of interest in the e-commerce scene of Pakistan and you haven't heard about this young man here, Ehsan Saya. And last time I met him as on a business meeting, I remember that was many years back. That's when you have just joined Daraz, Pakistan. Ehsan Saya is a dynamic leader with rich background in investment banking and e-commerce. He currently serves as the managing director of Daraz, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, South Asia's largest e-commerce marketplace. Under his leadership, Daraz, Pakistan has transformed the digital commerce landscape, empowering millions of customers and sellers across the country. Welcome, Ehsan, and so good to have you here. How many of you shop through Daraz, by the way? Yeah, almost everyone does. Okay. No customer complaints through those QR codes. All right. Okay. There's another channel for that. Chalne ji. See, I think we're not going to go through the stories, all 3 of them, but the very interesting thing is that we were having a conversation outside and I really got to know how the career that they started with were entirely different, except for Madiha. Madiha, you started with Unilever. You stayed with Unilever. What a loyal employee she is, no doubt. But the other 2 panelists, they started differently. So, wo stories pe hum baad mein baat karenge, but very interesting how you all end up in a different line altogether. And I think that's a pretty beautiful thing about the career. Abhi bachcho ko bhi main kuch bahar keh raha tha. It's not about how you start your career. It's how your career progresses over time. Madiha, let me start with you. So my first question to you is, as we look towards the future of work, what are some of the key shifts that you foresee in a career? How they are built? As I said, that careers are built over time. So how do you see these skill set changing over the life?
I think that, the shifts all of us are aware of. I think, if I start at the top, I think some of the jobs that, we have today didn't exist when I graduated. That's how fast, things are changing. You are talking about artificial intelligence, and there is so much conversation about kiski job khatam hogi. But, actually it's about taking it on, learning, adding it to your skill set, and really deciding how does it allow you to do your job better. And therefore, the shifts that I would say is that we are moving from specific jobs to skills and experiences. That is the currency. That is how we are talking about. We are talking about rigid careers, that, पहले आप management trainee आएंगे, फिर assistant brand manager बनेंगे, फिर brand manager बनेंगे, फिर इस तरह करते जाएंगे, to really, a journey of discovery and fulfillment and, shaping your career. And lastly, again, it is a career portfolio that you are talking about, which is based on your skills and experiences, where, it's not a very linear journey that you have covered, but, you go deep, you go wide, and, you come across as a well, rounded professional. And I think at Unilever, we call it shape your own adventure. And I actually think that, my introduction had marketing and sales. And I think that the boundaries between functions are also now blurring. You talk about skill, which is a marketing skill like marketing analytics, or you talk about net revenue management. But, if you come up with an idea on how to increase your revenue, the person who's going to take it to the customer is going to be the salesperson. So you have, reached very close to a skill set, which is actually a sales or a commercial skill set. So, it's almost a hive of skills and experiences now. And that is, I think, what is a key shift versus, say 10 years ago.
So, Madiha, if I could take you back to the very start of your career, now that, mashallah, you are heading businesses in 2 countries, if there is any particular skill you wish you had developed over time, what would that be?
I think adaptability.
Uh-huh.
I think it is something that just comes up every now and then. I think that, every time, you start something new, you feel a fish out of water. And I think this is going to keep on happening. Changes are going to keep on coming, whether it is technological advancements, whether it is in your career, you are undertaking the responsibility for a country you've never been to. So I think, that is something that, maybe I built over time. But when I started out my career, it used to be very intimidating every time you would start off in something.
Right. So you're looking after a business in Bangladesh now. And no visits to Bangladesh yet, right?
No visit. I'm, currently in the process of applying for my visa.
Good luck for that. All right. Inshallah, mil jayega visa Bangladesh ka. Theek hai ji. Ehsan, I know Daraz, whatever my interaction with your organization is, I got the opportunity to visit Daraz once in your previous office. Something that I noticed is Daraz is a very young place, and I think what's the average age must be in 20s, I believe.
Yeah, it's like 25, 26.
25, 26. So
I'm elderly over there.
you must be one of the oldest there in the company. I
By
believe.
far.
Okay. So I was going through this very interesting framework that McKinsey has developed, and it's about the future citizen skill. And they've categorized it in 4 areas, which is cognitive, interpersonal, self-leadership, and digital. So in your view, I mean, if you look at this framework developed by McKinsey, among these 4 skills, which one do you think are the most important? Or when you are hiring someone at Daraz, do you actually look into students and young people, young graduates having these skills?
Yeah, look, I think instead of saying maybe one is more important than the other, then perhaps instead I'll share what has worked well for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, to some degree that might give a little bit of a reference point. Because I think the reason there's 4, and within those 4, they're broken into multiple subsets, is because it actually depends a lot on the individual, right? You have to play to your strengths. If you try to play to your weaknesses, it just makes it much more challenging. So I think the reason to go through those, 4 and to look at the subsets of those is to identify where does your natural skill set really, where do you play well? So I think for me, for example, when I look at it, for me, what's worked well is within cognitive, it's sort of mental flexibility. And this goes back to a little bit of adaptability.
Right.
And I think my mindset has always been that, I want to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So I think that always allowed me to sort of learn the different elements that worked well. For example, I'm not a person that is a digital native, nor was my education in anything to do with digital. I had a completely different upbringing in terms of what I studied, but I sort of went into it sort of saying, okay, well, what's the worst that will happen? And I think that element also made me more okay with failure, made me more okay with a lot of the things that would be construed as negatives, and allowed me to play to my strengths. And I think that's where really you should dissect all four of those and start figuring out what really works well for you. It may not be something that worked well for me, but it may be something that you can actually add value to an organization and be able to go in there and make yourself relevant, like Fatma also mentioned.
Yeah.
Earlier.
So e-commerce, as I know it, and I'm pretty sure you will concur, it's a very high stress and high pressure environment that you work in. I mean, there are thousands and millions of orders we're talking about, the customer services issues, the vendor issues and all. How do you adjust to this kind of environment? What sort of skill set do you need to have to adjust to this kind of a, I don't want to use this word, but a very kind of a cutthroat environment?
Yeah. Look, I think it can be, a lot of the elements of cutthroat depend on the culture you have in the organization. So one is when I look back at, for example, when I used to do investment banking, it was very cutthroat, but the culture was also very cutthroat.
Yeah.
So the work was cutthroat. You were dealing at times with billion-dollar deals, and you had to, if you didn't make something at the right time, it became very difficult for you. But I think the culture that we have tried to build at Daraz is one that sort of that allows for experiments, that allows you to sort of put yourself into a situation where you can see what you're built of. So I think a lot of it is also the culture the organization's built. But I think the skill set that really that again worked well for me has been work ethic. I think one thing that investment banking really taught me was, more than anything else, was just work ethic. When I was graduating, I wasn't the smartest kid that was graduating. But I knew that one thing I had was work ethic. I was going to outwork you 10 times out of 10. And that's sort of what, again, to play to my strengths, what I realized was this is how I was going to have to stand out. And I think in high pressure environments, the mindset you have to have is that you have to be able to you have to have a lot of grit and hard work, and you have to not be afraid of failure, because it's just the inevitable. And I think I also got fortunate that I failed a lot at very early stages in my career in very dramatic ways. I mean, I've had to do deliveries at points in my career to make money and make ends meet.
All right.
And at the same time, I've had times when I've been fired from my job. So I think that allowed me to sort of say, okay, well, it's okay, you fail in life, and that's just another reason to get back up.
Well, it's just not easy, Ehsan. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, and I think there's something important for you guys to learn as well. So Ehsan, who's heading the largest e-commerce marketplace in Pakistan and Sri Lanka right now, is saying that he had failures at the start of his career. Something that I mentioned earlier, it's not about how you start your career, it's how you take it forward. Myra, my question to you is, what kind of a skill set gap that you see in the workforce these days? I mean, the students which are coming out of the university, you interview them. What are those areas that you feel that students should be trained about when they are in the university or at the very early career?
So where do I see gaps? I would say the first gap that I've seen, especially working with universities in abroad and in Pakistan. I lived in the UK before that, and I worked in Singapore, I worked in Zurich, I worked in the US, and then I was in Pakistan. One of the gaps that I see kind of worldwide is a lot of students work on their IQ. They work on their technical skills that, we need to know PowerPoint, we need to know Excel, we need to do what we call transferable skills. So they work on that. But very few know that you also need to work on your EQ. So IQ is as important as EQ, which is your emotional quotient, which is kind of like, that is what really kind of makes you a little bit more unmissable in the sense that your leadership, your teamwork, how to work holistically. So I would say is like the gap is on EQ. Number two, I would say is maybe decision making. So most universities talk about fast-paced environments, exam dena hai, you have to do really well in school and stuff, but it's also about when you get into a workspace is you have to sometimes take a lot of decisions, even like not big decisions, but small decisions. And in my opinion, I've seen that the worst decision is the one that's not taken. It's better to actually take a bad decision and fail rather than take no decision at all. And those decisions that are not taken, they actually affect people's careers and they also affect company futures. So I think that, decision making is really important. Third, I would say where there's a gap is that it's not just about, obviously, there's technical skills and then there's interpersonal skills or soft skills, and then there are cognitive gaps in between. But I feel that students should really focus on reading. We don't read enough. And I feel that and this is not just reading about marketing or strategy, there's so many good books out there. And I feel with young people, we're so stuck on social media and, like it's this culture, like the clickbait culture. And I feel that there's a big gap in reading. And I have a whole list. I actually wrote it down for the IBA students of what are the books that I would recommend. But focus on like reading and continuous development and have a mindset of lifelong learning. Like make curiosity your superpower. And if you have that, then you'll always be bridging gaps as you further in your career.
Absolutely. I think Myra has just said reading as a skill. You guys need to develop it, and everyone is not good at reading. I'm pretty bad at reading. So what I've done is that I've started reading 5 pages of a book every day. And I think that works pretty fine. I think I end up a book in 3 months' time, but that's fine. I've at least done something. What is see, as I said, everyone is not good at this. Do you think 5 pages a day is a good strategy, or do you have any other recommendation for the young IBA students sitting out there?
So I think that it's what I mean, like reading is also what I mean is that commit to lifelong learning. So it's not about 5 pages a day or 10 pages a day. I would say it's a kind of time commitment. And this kind of comes from Ehsan's thing on work ethic. Just the way you have like work ethic, you have to commit a certain time in a day. You can make that 15 minutes a day. You can make that 5 minutes a day. And you can leverage different resources for that learning. So you can like, I don't know, if you don't like learning, hear a podcast. Like do stuff that's like non-clickbait social media is what I'm trying to say. So like follow thought leaders, maybe leverage some online resources to learn about a particular topic. Follow people that you like that's not just about glitz and glam, but actually, that can teach you whatever and also of course this also depends on your passion. So where you want to be. So, and also I think a lot of young people, what they're doing really well right now is building their own personal brands. So, and that kind of makes you commit to that 15 minutes a day or 1 hour a week or whatever it is. And then you take stuff that you really love and then you're putting it out there in front of people. So I think that even that, you have to read or you have to learn about things before you can actually.
That is so true. I think reading is just one of the things. It's about continuous improvement and following the thought leaders. Any particular thought leader that you followed in your life, Myra? I mean, you can skip the question, of course, but somebody that you really consider like a guru. I mean, it's my go-to person that I go to.
I don't think I have any one particular thought leader, but like, for example, I moved from investment banking to entrepreneurship. So something that I had to learn like really, really fast was cosmetic science. I couldn't operate a business which makes personal care products without knowing the basics and more of cosmetic science, because we obviously are a manufacturer as well. So I committed like, I don't know, half an hour to the Institute of Personal Care Science. And I read a lot about Anita Roddick's book. So Anita Roddick is somebody who owned the Body Shop. So I really read a lot about that. And then I'm generally very, very passionate about entrepreneurship. Also, there are like a lot of people that I read a lot of Harvard case studies. So there's not like one particular type and I read a lot of books.
That is amazing.
I can recommend and so I feel like I don't need to follow a particular thought leader, but I get snippets from different leaders and I get different inspirations from different leaders as well.
And I really hope you read more than 5 pages a day.
I do.
Oh, you do, Shalini. That is great. The reason I asked this question is that she developed a skill about cosmetics and all. I recently met a CEO of a pharmaceutical company who was an investment banker, by the way. But his knowledge about medicine and pharmacy was so immaculate. And I asked him, I saw you talking to these brand managers and it felt like that you are into this industry forever. He said, I've got ChatGPT that he never had. And yeah, amazing. Great resource. Madiha, if I could ask you the same question there. So you conduct a lot of interviews and all, and of course, graduates from IBA and all the top institutes, they're there. Do you also feel that there's a skill gap and between what the skills they should be having after having 4 years of studies or maybe 6 years of studies, and perhaps what is required for this job that they are interviewing for?
So, yes, I think, when you are in a university, what you are doing, take it as a foundation, that is happening. There isn't an expectation, there isn't a guarantee that, this is going to be 100% enough. And I think that, Myra very rightly pointed out EQ. I would have said people skills, as one of the things. And people skills are about collaboration, teamwork, leadership. That is why, a lot of, companies, including Unilever, has, these assessment or discovery centers where there are activities around teamwork. And, that's exactly the point of those as well. So I think that, for me, critical thinking, these are the, problem solving, these are the things that, you tend to find missing. Of course, there would then be the hard skills as well that, you would need to be constantly updated on. And, that's technology, that's data analytics. But I think also, and, both Ehsan and Myra mentioned it, the attitude. I think the curiosity, that hunger to learn, I think that has to be there. That, carries you, much longer than, any of these, so to say, hard skills that you would learn at university. And I'll, give an example. I think what I studied at, IBA 15 years ago, or you studied, it's long outdated. And that is why, the books that we have, unke versions 12, 13, 14 aate rehte hain. That's because new information is available. So, then how does a graduate from, 2008 or 2003 or 1993, come up to speed with it and, continue to operate in the corporate or otherwise life? It's because learning is lifelong. And I think that, programming, so, by the way, before I came to IBA, I thought I would be a computer programmer. And then I came here. But, before this, I was studying a bit of it and I super enjoyed it. And I think that is, that space is a big example of how things become obsolete. I mean, the programming language that I studied was C++, I think long dead. Usse pehle C hota tha, basic hota tha, visual basic hota tha. Today we are talking about Python. I don't know, till last year we were maybe, that's outdated now as well. Now it is all about AI and stuff. So, what about the person who studied C++? Because C++ is long gone. And I think that, that's not what programming taught me. What programming taught me was structure, was being able to break down things and then build them up again. That's a skill. That's not a language that I learned. And I think, just that approach to what you are learning is very, very important as well, because that's how you learn skills and, not something that's going to be outdated half a decade from today.
Yeah, I think I never knew C++ was dead. मुझे अभी पता चली है बात. मेरे लिए breaking news ही आई है. But Madiha is talking about outdated curriculum and all. Madiha, we felt we were studying outdated curriculum when we were studying 20 years back. So just imagine how things would have been right now. Ehsan, she mentioned about AI and see, everyone is talking about AI right now. YouTube भी लगाएं तो podcast भी AI के बारे में ऐसा हो जाएगा वैसा हो जाएगा. I think for the young graduates who are going to be professionals pretty soon, do you agree that it is really going to affect the way that they work, we work? And if it does, What can we do to stay abreast with whatever changes are taking place in the industry right now?
Yeah, look, I think it should affect the way you work. Otherwise, we're going backwards in the world. And if you're not taking advantage of it, if you're not being able to sort of leverage it to help fuel your growth, then you're getting left behind. I think actually a lot of what was discussed today was nothing pointed at you should do 1, 2, and 3, but it was how you should solve any problem that's really thrown at you.
True.
Through whether it's work ethic or through lifelong learning, all of those actually still apply. Yeah. Because if I was to tell you this is the problem that AI is going to throw at you, I would probably be wrong by the time we all left the auditorium. But if we were to sort of guide you towards how you should address your problems and how you should address the challenges and opportunities that AI brings, as well as any other technology that you encounter in your career, that would be much more fruitful. It's really the how you address the problem and not the problem or challenge itself. And as far as the need to take advantage of AI, I think all of us should be able to leverage that. And like I said, it would be unfortunate if we didn't. Really, what our takeaway, I think, it seems it's from everyone, is really how you should address any of the challenges you come across in your career, as whether it's technology, whether it's a job. It's really how to work through it that seems to be the most relevant part.
Absolutely. My good news is that AI cannot replace beauty products, at least for now. ऐसे ही आपको यहाँ से थोड़ा सी तकवीत तो सुकून तो मिल जाता होगा ना कि अभी इतनी तो आगे हम नहीं जा रहे.
So AI, yes, you're probably right. AI can replace beauty products, but what AI can do is make like, for example, we've just implemented it Conatural. Before you actually had to physically go into store to buy a product. Now you can just on your phone do a virtual try on and see what a lipstick looks like. So you're actually saving product and you're not sharing a product with other consumers, and you'll see exactly how it looks on you in different lights. So I think AI is awesome that way. Similarly, when you're trying to, like for me, what I'm really passionate about it is I hate waste and I hate pollution. And for me, it's like, how can companies and people use AI to better the future? And so, for example, in cosmetics, and an example I would give is that with the advent of AI, there's so much big data available on the type of ingredients you can use in cosmetic products. And so AI can actually help you ascertain much quicker on the environmental impact of that particular ingredient. Similarly, AI can help you lessen packaging, because now you can put stuff on QR codes rather than carton and carton and carton. Similarly, it can help you choose, make consumers make better choices. So I think that we shouldn't be afraid of AI. The only way forward is to embrace AI. And it can never, I feel people get scared, but you shouldn't be, because the focus should be on, in a world of AI, how can we use the human mind better? And in AI, it just means that there's so much big data available. So, for example, data science as a career or data science for graduates should be really, really exciting, because gone are the days where you actually had to manually go and collect so much data. Now that data is available, and gone are the days that you had to memorize all this data to make informed decisions. So now you don't need to memorize anything. It's just stuff is available. So the skill that you need to work on is how to analyze that data, and how you can analyze that data to make better and more informed choices. So yeah, I think the future is really cool.
And AI can influence the buying behavior. Does AI influence the buying behavior, Ehsan? I think there's a question that came to my mind while she was talking. Do you use these AI, these big datas and all? People are creating false wants, maybe something like that.
We definitely use a lot of personalization. Yeah. Right? When you go into our app, you and I may see very different things. We may see very similar things, and we look at the buying behavior, not of perhaps exactly you, but customers like you. We recommend items based on that. Mm-hmm. But we also use AI to really be able to make the lives of our sellers easier. For example, e-commerce is in its infancy in Pakistan, right? So maybe it's 2.5% of retail. And if you look at the maturity of our sellers, it's still very far behind. If you ask a seller, to this, you buy a blue bottle, if you ask him what color bottle you need to send, he'll just say, I need to send a bottle. And so with AI, you can actually really help them mature. For example, let's say you're in a market in Sadr. If you take a picture of something and it has a lot of background noise, and let's say the phone quality is just not, the latest iPhone. And so through AI, you can actually, you can really fine tune the picture. You can blur out the noise in the background and actually allow that seller now to get recommendation that this is what the description should be. This is what the title should be. This is how the customers, price this sort of product. And suddenly he's a lot more mature in his journey.
Yeah.
So I think in fact, countries like ours, we can actually benefit a lot because there are phases where as countries you can play catch up. For example, in the 1960s and 70s, it was, through a lot of countries invested in farming. Through farming, they were able to leverage the income and use the banking system to be able to build on manufacturing. We sort of missed that boat a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, what AI really does is it's a great equalizer for many things. So countries like Pakistan, which are actually a little bit further behind, we can actually use this opportunity to leapfrog and catch up to a lot of other countries that perhaps are already in that journey and further along us. So we definitely use it, and I think actually it's a big opportunity for us as a country to figure out how do we leverage this. And I give a very small example, but examples like this, in our business exist across the board.
True. All right. So we've got these questions from the audience sitting here. Thank you so much. This is the first set of questions that I've got. You all have those QR codes with you, so you can, if you have any questions with this very, mashallah, that you realize a very learned panel that we have. So please feel free to ask them. Madiha, the first question is for you.
Okay.
All right. How can students strike a balance between being a generalist, knowing a bit about everything, and a specialist, mastering one area?
Okay, so I think at the stage at which you are, I think my recommendation would be for you to, get the foundational skills first. Don't worry about being a specialist. I think that's not the expectation from you. I think take this great time in your life to explore and experience and then decide what you want to do. So I think that, get new experiences. I think, when we also used to be in IBA, वो होता था कि आपका major क्या है? Marketing है कि, finance है. And, you used to have like one more course for marketing and call yourself a marketing major. Actually, if I look back, I think, it should be okay for, people to, have a go at the marketing cases, HR, courses, HR, finance, and then really be in a position to decide what they want to do. And if, you don't want to do investment banking, then, you make the switch, at your level, from finance to marketing or vice versa as well. So I think that, my advice would be to focus more of your time in knowing about a variety of stuff. Don't try to become a specialist now. There will be time in the future. Once you've got your foundations in place, that's when you build upon what you really like, what really interests you.
All right, brilliant. Madiha, if I could just take this question forward, what are those 3 skills that you would want to see in a young graduate to excel in his career? 3 skills that they should develop right now. And I ask this question from the other panelists as well.
See, I think I will leave the academics, be good at it and everything aside. I think number 1 would be curiosity, wanting to know more, wanting to do things, differently. I think that really sets you up, differentiates you and, gets the ball rolling. I think number 2 would be analytics, data analytics. That's, somewhat of a hard skill, not a soft skill. But, a lot of times, I see people trying to shy away, from analytics. And, as we are talking now, you don't need to do the number crunching. There are a lot of tools available to support you. But, in order to interpret the data, in order to read the data and, just align the actions basis the data, that's still going to be on you. So I think don't run away from data, be interested in that. And third will be for me again, something that I spoke about earlier as well, people skills. So I think there are very few chances that you will be working alone, unless it's you and your computer and you are doing some actually coding kind of a thing where you have a job and you have to do it on your own as an individual contributor. Chances are that you will be working with a group of people or through a group of people. And I think, that comfort is very important. So these will be the, curiosity, data and analytics, and people skills.
And Myra, you mentioned about developing EQ. And what other skills did you think the student should develop at this age, other than EQ and alongside?
So I always say that, like, when you're developing your skills, you should look at it as you want to be. This is what Harvard says in many studies as well. It's like you want to be, in a few years out of college, you want to be a T-shaped professional. And how that T is that the horizontal line is your breadth of skills, and then the vertical line is your depth of experience. Now, within that, obviously, you need your technical skills and you need your EQ. But I think that what's coming forth is, and this has come up again and again, is commit to lifelong learning. Because with advance in AI, your learning curves and I would say workplace needs for the kind of skills that are required are going to be so exponentially changing that, for example, I don't know, I think I'm one of the few generations where we had analog phones as well as like a digital phone completely. And I think that with the new iPhone models, if we think that the camera has now improved in the last 10 years, like it's going to improve like 1,000 times more in probably in the next 10 years. So like there's exponential learning coming up, which I think is really exciting. So just commit to lifelong learning. I've also said curiosity, make it your superpower. You've said the same thing. Anything else in terms of like skill, I would be like grit and resilience. Develop that as a modular experience and as a modular skill. So as a modular skill, you develop certain skills and they're kind of interconnected. And then you have to have modular experiences. So try and get experiences like managing a team, leading a project, going a little bit over and above your job description if it's a new job. And all of these kind of things work out quite beautifully as a Lego piece and build you into a more holistic individual to have a fantastic career ahead.
Excellent. Ehsan.
Yeah, I think they've said so many beautiful things that I don't know if I'll be able to add much value to it. But the one thing that I will say is that, as you, apart from the skills, the one thing that I think has always worked for me is sort of the not giving up part. And I think, over time as you go through your career, upholding your values gets more and more important and something that gets more and more difficult as you face different challenges. And so one of the things that I would also urge everyone to sort of make sure you keep in mind is that the values you have and the values you develop, it is important to stay true to them, whether it's integrity, whether it's hard work, whatever it is. Make sure you really do commit to those as well, because and really values look pretty on walls, but they really get tested when it's difficult times. When it's difficult time for you personally, when it's difficult time for you as a company, that's when the values really really do shows if it's on the wall or if it's within people's hearts. So I would, there's at least one element that I didn't think was mentioned today that I thought was been important at least for me to carry.
All right. Ehsan, when you're talking about, अभी आपके जवाब से याद आया जब आप हम बात कर McKinsey's जो future citizen skills के हवाले से. So we talked about interpersonal skill. I think we have talked about that as well. So there were two more things about it. Something called self-leadership and digital. Can you shed some more light on that? I mean, how do you develop this self-leadership skill? What have you done yourself about developing the skill over your career?
I'm going to look what's under self-leadership. Okay. It's self-aware. There we go. Self-awareness and self-management, entrepreneurship, and goals achievement. Look, I think the first one and I think, again, it's a lot of phases in your career, right? So if you look at self-awareness and self-management, a lot of things that are mentioned are sort of things like self-motivation, integrity, self-confidence. I think a lot of those also come with time and with some level of going through it.
True.
It's not something that, when you come out of university, you're just sort of, or sometimes perhaps people are, but it takes a little bit of time to go through it and drive some level of self-awareness from it. I think for me, a lot of it has been as I've gone through my career and as I've sort of seen what has worked well for me. I think that's where I've realized what are the things that have, like I said, what plays to my strengths. Because I'll be honest, I did investment banking for many, many years, but I was good at it, but I never liked it.
All right.
And because I never liked it, this element of self-awareness was there. And in fact, I really used to imagine a day in which I would wake up and go do something I really enjoyed. And I can, alhamdulillah, now say that when I wake up and go to the office, I really enjoy what I do. And I think that also comes with time and experience. We talked about sort of having, your career as a T. You need to try different things in order to know what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. You
can't sort of just know immediately. I sort of did invest in banking. To be honest, I just did it because it paid well. And I had a loan I had to pay off, and I was like, okay, well, fine, I'll do it. And over time, when I did it, I realized, man, I really hate this. But then I still continued doing it for a while because it still paid well. But then eventually it came to a point where I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. So I think over time, as you go through your career, you get the self-awareness. You learn over time what you enjoy. And actually, the best you are able to do is when you are passionate about something.
True.
But it's very difficult to just automatically on day one find what you're passionate about. If out of university, I had no idea what I wanted to do, which is why I did business. If I knew what I wanted to do, I would not have done business. And generally, I found that most of the people that do business is because you kind of don't know. And it's also okay not to know. And it's okay also not to know when you're graduating. And as you put yourself in a career, when you don't know what to do, try different things. And there's so many good programs now. I mean, Unilever has a great future leadership program. Daraz has a great one. There's many organizations that have it that really force you to try different things. And all they ask of you is to be open to trying different things. And put yourself in uncomfortable situations. As long as you're learning and as long as you're growing, keep doing that, and then you will find what works for you. And when it works for you, then you can really, you can then dig vertically and focus on that.
And shortly, Ehsan, about the digital skill as well, how can we improve on that? Maybe.
Yeah, I think, look at, and if you probably saw this 10 years ago, digital wasn't really there.
Yeah.
But I think now it's because it's digital everywhere. In fact, I think the room here, it's digital native. So actually, you guys, to a large degree, have cracked that more than, it's probably more relevant for our generation than it is actually for a lot of the people here. So I think actually, if you go dissect the quadrant which says digital, you guys would all sort of be, 10 out of 10 on that. And it really actually is, I think, the other ones like interpersonal and cognitive, which you really can perhaps grow more on.
Absolutely. And Ehsan, I'm such a old digital migrant that it was in the IBA library that I heard the word Google for the very first time. In fact, one of my friends said, "Yaar, Yahoo try nahi karte, ek naya search engine aaya, Googly." Okay, Googly. Try karte. Phir nahi yaar, it must be Googly nahi hai, Google hoga ye. But Bharat. And Ehsan, there is another. So, do you categorize yourself as an introvert or an extrovert?
I am an extrovert. But now I feel like over time, I think as you age, you become more introverted. But I'm naturally an extrovert. Like I get my energy from people.
Okay, so the question is, so I don't know, but you're becoming slowly, gradually.
Yeah, I think it's just age. You're kind of just tired.
You are going through that maturity and going to those ashrams and developing, finding that peace of mind and stuff.
Like for 20 days straight now, I sit at home, I put on the fire, I put on soft music, and I just sit.
Amazing. So the question is that introverted students often struggle with networking. Do you have any tips for how students can set a good impression when they approach you? Madiha, I'll ask this question to you because I remember you were a pretty quiet student in the class. So I'll ask this question to you as well. Yes.
Look, I think one thing you have to realize is that it's never easy. So for example, when I got my first job, this was in 2008, I was looking for an internship. And 2008, investment banking was the worst time to find a job in life because every bank was, crumbling. Yeah. So the way I got my first job is I took an 8-hour bus ride to meet someone for coffee. And then he thought, who's this stupid guy who takes an 8-hour bus ride to have coffee? And I think one of the things that I realized there was I made a list of like 72 people I wanted to meet with.
Okay.
And then I realized that by the time I got to the 72 or 65th or whatever number I had, I became better and better and better over time. So you will not necessarily do well with the first person you meet. And it's okay. Be yourself. And you will perhaps fail on the first one. Maybe you'll get a little bit better on the second one. But just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And there's nothing that you need to do besides being yourself to set a good impression. Because when you are your genuine self, you will make a good impression, and the right place will find you, as an attractive talent. But just know that it is difficult for everyone, whether you're extroverted or introverted. It is always difficult in the beginning, and over time it gets easier. What you have to commit to is going through that process, is to say that, okay, when I get down my list of the people I want to meet, it will get better. It will get easier, regardless of if you're extroverted or introverted. You will know the things that are genuine to you and be able to actually come across with someone who respects that.
Very interesting technique there. Madiha, over to you now.
So you're absolutely right. You remember correctly. I was an introvert. I still identify myself as an introvert, and now nobody believes me. And I think that, during the early part of my career, I did struggle. It was, also a common feedback that I used to receive, that, you are very to yourself, you should go out, talk to people more. And, just take something, you want to show the packaging, just walk up to another, director and ask them what are your views. And I was like, that would look so forced. I cannot do that. I haven't spoken to him ever. And I think just as you said, I think slowly and gradually you realize that, there are things you have to differentiate, on staying true to yourself. So even today, I wouldn't just walk up to people and talk because it doesn't come naturally to me, but also then realizing what is part of the job or, the task at hand. And that is something that you have to make yourself uncomfortable to get comfortable with. And the way I did it was that, my immediate team or the people that I was working with, which would then one step, down would be the agency partners, the different cross-functional teams, making sure that, those were the people that I was, actually making a conscious effort to interact with, to engage with, to have, some small conversations with, because it is also a fact of life that, you cannot just go up to people and start giving out instructions, oh, I want to do this, and, then expect everybody to get the work done. That's part of your core people skills of how you work with people. And even more importantly, how you work through people as, as you become more senior in the organization. So I think I learned it over time. And today, sometimes, somebody would walk over to me, have a conversation and leave, and I would call their boss and say, did you ask this person to, have a chat with me or, start interacting with leaders more? Because this was very forced. And, you can immediately, tell now. And I think as leaders, to leaders, my advice would be to not force people, just, let them be natural. But, at the same time, for everybody else, I think introverts, extrovert nahi ban jate, but introverts are always conscious and self-aware of who they are, and therefore they need to navigate accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. और खास तौर से ब्रांड मैनेजर्स को मुझे पता है कि वो एड एजेंसी का तो बहुत बुरा हाल करते हैं. वो अच्छे इंट्रोवर्ट ब्रांड मैनेजर्स जो है ना एड एजेंसी के सामने एक्सट्रोवर्ट हो जाते हैं. But Madiha, there's a follow-up question regarding you mentioned in fact twice about adaptability part. उस पे सवाल ये आया, as the panel mentioned that adaptability is one of the most important skill to learn in the world where skills are evolving so quickly with the evolution of Fiverr, Upwork and Coursera. How can students ensure they stay relevant and adaptable?
I think a lot of what we have, spoken about, this entire, approach of lifelong learning will, make you ready for it. I think adaptability is being aware of what's going on around you. I think, if you feel that, Instagram and Twitter is the best way to go about it, sure. But I think otherwise, as Myra was saying, I think, when you read about things, or if it is, more audio learning that you want to do through podcasts, I think just, try to keep updated on what's going on. And that will just, make you more ready for adaptability. I think that, for example, all the things that you just said, Fiverr, Upwork, I may not know what all of them are. But I would be broadly aware, and if required, to work on them, with them, about them. It wouldn't take me a lot of time to, just get into it and, have a bit of a working knowledge about, you don't also need to know everything. I think, it is, quite a misconception that everybody needs to know everything. I mean, a lot of times about 50% will suffice, on top of your foundational skills. So I think, it's about staying updated, staying relevant. I don't know everything about AI. I'm just returning to marketing after 4 years out, and I know that, जब मैं last थी तब AI वगैरह की इतनी conversation नहीं होती थी. So again, there will be an area where I will need to upskill myself as well. But that you just get in the habit of it.
Absolutely. Anyone here working on Fiverr and Upwork here, by the way? उठा लो हाथ यार, क्यों शर्मा रहे हो? वो दोस्त का हाथ उठाना चाह रहा है, वो उठा नहीं रहा, but बाहर So nobody here. But these are great.
One guy right there.
So there's one there. Yeah. All right. So it's a great. You are on Upwork or Fiverr, and what do you do there? वीडियो एडिटिंग पे काम करते हैं. AI से जिंदगी तो बहुत आसान हो गई होगी या मुश्किल हो गई है? आसान हो गई है, जबरदस्त. सारी की सारी ऐड की कॉपी चैट जीपीटी लिख रहा है आजकल. मदिया चेक कर लीजिएगा आप, ठीक है? Myra, there is a question for you. From a finance role to management consulting to an entrepreneurial role, all of these require a distinct skill set. How did you navigate through these transitions from corporate to consulting to entrepreneurship?
So how did I transform my skills?
Yes.
So I started after I went to the LSE in London, and I then started investment banking. And investment banking, I guess, taught me, in terms of skills, it taught me attention to detail. It taught me workload, like how to cope with very long working hours and workload in a very cutthroat environment. So it helped me develop grit. I was the only girl on the trading floor, by the way, other than my boss as PA. So that also teaches you a lot of grit and resilience in a very male-dominated environment. Then when I moved to, and of course, it taught me financial literacy, because it's completely different going to university and actually practical applications. Then when I moved to management consulting, I was at Deloitte, and that taught me problem solving. It taught me strategy. It taught me decision making. It taught me a lot of presentation skills, stuff that we didn't have to really do in an investment banking environment, but now you had clients. So I really worked on those skills. And then it also taught me a lot of time management skills, because when you're a consultant, you have to travel like crazy. And then I guess when I moved to my own startup, I had to really, I kind of transferred those skills. By the way, before I started Conatural, and while I was working in management consultancy, I also did an ex-MBA. And I think that gives me a lot of skills that I have today, or that, since my undergraduate, I upskilled, because I learned about marketing and supply chain and new forms of strategy and digitization at that time, which is very different today. And then, of course, when I had my startup, I used my transferable skills, but then I really worked on my leadership. One thing great that I think that when you work in organizations, especially big ones, and you go through the path of leadership, that's amazing, because you figure out how organizations are run, and you kind of start, let's say I started as an analyst and I left as a senior manager. Just that upwork and progression through the organization, it also teaches you EQ, and it also teaches you how kind of organizations work. So that also really helped me when I had my own startup, because I had my transferable skills, and then I worked on my leadership skills. And I kind of followed my pursuit of excellence. And I still am a student today, and I learn every day.
Yep, absolutely. You learn every day. Just last question to the entire panel. Okay, we are sitting at IBA, Karachi, one of the top institutes of Pakistan and all. People are here to pursue a degree naturally. Something that I mentioned at the very start. How relevant do you think degree would remain, or people would be pursuing hard skills and soft skills, of course, in the coming years? Myra, what's your take on that? Are the degrees going to stay relevant?
Well, it depends on the degree, but my hard answer is yes. So it's not that universities are like hum band kar denge just because AI aa gaya. I just feel like the way that you're using educational materials will change because you might not have to focus on memorization as much as compared to like maybe analytics. So yeah, for sure. I
You
don't.
think
I
it's
don't
going to
think.
stay relevant? Madiha,
Yeah.
your take.
I also think yes. I think that, the way we engage and interact with the students at the universities might change. The nature of the degrees might change. It already has. I mean, how 15 years ago, we used to go about it, to even how IBA is going about them today, it's different. But I think this is a great breeding ground for, some of the core foundational skills that, I've been talking about, which is whether it is discipline, structure. Actually, this is the first time that you get to work with people. And I think so. So I think that, for now, my answer is yes.
For now, it is. Ehsan, what's your take? Any radical take on this question?
No.
No.
Yes. I mean, I haven't. I worked hard, so now I have to think it's important. But look, I'll short answer yes, but I think I actually want to take this opportunity to also give a little bit of perspective on how amazing I think the talent that comes from this university and other educational institutes in Pakistan is. And I'll give very concrete examples of this. But Daraz exists in 5 countries, but majority of the regional teams have always been in Pakistan. The ones that actually, if someone leaves Singapore, the first preference is to hire that person in Pakistan.
Nice.
And that is a testament to not only the educational institutes, but also to all of you here. And I want you guys to all know this, because as you also set your aspirations for your careers, set them high. Set them to be the greatest in the world, and don't set them to just be the greatest in the 4 walls of this university or this city or this country. Be the best at what you do in the world. And recently we actually had a change at a Alibaba level, and one of the CEOs of the entities had come to Pakistan. And within 3 days, after meeting some of the members from Daraz, they decided that they're going to move their call centers, their financial services eventually, their legal services from Philippines and other countries to Pakistan.
Amazing.
Because they saw the quality of the individuals here. And so I think it's also important for everyone here to remember that of course, universities will be important, but the quality of the people that are developed here, and to be honest, that are developed in this country are exceptional. And it is important for all of you guys to know that there's no reason you're any lesser than anyone graduating from the top universities in the world, and there's no reason that you should not aspire to go and do phenomenal things that they're able to do. I just think it was important to mention that, because I've been very fortunate to work with that very, very intelligent people in Pakistan and very, very intelligent people in Daraz, and it always shocks me that when you go outside, people are they don't have that impression, and it's actually very important for all of us to aspire for that, and to always remember that you are an ambassador for Pakistan as well when you leave the country, and to make sure that you set that standard for yourself as an ambassador, to always be a person that upholds their values and delivers, everything you do, deliver it to exception. Yeah.
Excellent, Ehsan. On this very positive note for our beloved country, Pakistan, we conclude our discussion. Thank you so much, Ehsan, Madiha, Myra. I hope this was a good learning experience. Thank you so much, IBA Karachi, for hosting us. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you, IBA. See you soon. Take care. Bye.